Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to my recap of 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days. This is season 2, episode 1, and so it begins. You guys, I am so excited for this. These couples are just so interesting. Obviously, we love Paul and Carini, and we love to hate Darcy and Jesse. They make amazing television, but we've got 4 new couples, and so let's jump right into it. So the first couple that we're going to talk about is Angela and Michael. Angela is a 52-year-old woman from Hazel something, Georgia. She's a real country girl, real country grandma, I guess I should say. She has 2 kids, 6 grandchildren, and they all live together, and she's taking care of her ailing mother. So Mama has been saving up monies to go see her man in Nigeria. His name is Michael. He is 30 years old. When they first met, they lied to each other. He said he was 40. She said she was 50, which is not that big of a difference from, 52, but she finds it hysterical. I like Angela. Do I think Angela is a fool? Yes. And this will all unfold in front of us, and I'm here for absolutely all of it, okay? So first we meet Angela's stylist and one of her friends named Heather, and Heather is like, look, would I go to Africa or Nigeria? No, sir. But to each his own, and I love that attitude. I love the fact that she's supportive, yet like, nah, wouldn't be me, wouldn't catch me on a plane to Africa. No ma'am, no ma'am, no God. And then you have her daughter, Scotty, who is just like, I support you, but like, there are so many red flags. Heather says that Angela has a big heart, but she's a mess, So we're gonna see where this takes us. I support Angela going over there and doing what she wants to do. Now, does it seem foolhardy? Absolutely, but who am I to stop somebody from finding the love that they've always wanted? She got married, was only married for 3 years. It wasn't a great relationship, and so she got divorced and never got married again. I want something good for Angela. She was feeling really down because she was going through menopause, and then she had this guy telling her all these sweet, nice stuff and giving her all the attention and listening to her, what she's needed, and I think that it helped her. Now, do I think it's gonna work out if they're actually face to face? No, he seems pretty conservative. He doesn't want her smoking. He's not gonna like her boisterous attitude. I'm pretty sure he's gonna want to kind of control her. Even though he's going for an older woman, I still think that he's gonna want to be a little controlling. I don't know. There's something about the way they've showed him in previews that leads me to believe that he's going to want to run things. And I find that when a younger guy gets with an older woman and only wants to run things, I'm like, unless you have a pot in which to piss in, you're not running nothing, bro. That is just how I feel. I know that might be a little sexist, but that's where I'm at right now. Scotty goes with her mother to the pawn shop to get a ring for Michael because Angela has decided that she is going to propose to Michael when she gets to Nigeria, which is real scary. Michael has got her feeling all kinds of fabulous. Michael has brought her back to a time where she feels like there's infinite possibilities and he's gonna be there to love her, and I can't even hate on that. I feel it 100%. Oh, my light's not on. That's what was wrong. I was like, why is there no light? I'm not gonna refilm it. This is what it is. Let there be light, you know what I'm saying? I actually support it from Angela's point of view. From what she has given us, from what she has said, I want the best for her. And so does her daughter, but her daughter's worried because it turns out that Michael can't have pictures of her in his phone. He says that if he were to get pulled over or have some kind of situation with the police, that they go through your phone, and that if they were to see him dealing with an American woman, there might be cause for concern for scamming and whatnot. Now, I don't know how to feel about this. Either it's an elaborate ruse to put the information out there so that you don't think it's true, or it isn't true and he isn't trying to scam her, and that's what they would think. It's not important to me that her pictures are not in his phone, and why she would tell her daughter that doesn't make any sense to me, especially if she doesn't think it's a big deal, then why mention it? Her daughter's like really worried, and they start to fight at the end of it, about this, and her daughter starts to cry because she just really thinks her mom is making a mistake. And granted, she probably is making a mistake, but it's not like she has been spending money on Michael. She's just spending money on her trip to Nigeria, which can be very expensive. I imagine that her trip is probably costing her $5,000. Then that's expensive to go somewhere, outside of the country. And Angela has never been outside the country. She mentioned at her going away party, for which she bought a cake that had the Nigerian flag on it, which I'm just like, she is going all in. She mentioned that she's a patriot, she loves America, and she never thought she would leave. And I think that's such a weird concept, that people feel like you leaving America and traveling outside of America somehow takes away your patriotism. I don't know, but she's not the first person I've heard say that. Like, I don't want to go anyplace else. And it's like, great, you could not want to go someplace else, but to equate that to a strong sense of patriotism is weird. That's what we have for Angela and Michael. I'm really interested in meeting Michael. I really do hope Angela the best. It does seem like they have a bit of a shakeup when she gets to Nigeria, which I am all here for, girl. I want to see all of it. So next couple we have is Rachel, who's 33 years old. She's from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then we have John. I don't remember how old he is, but he's from the UK. Here's my thing with this situation. My initial response is not to judge Rachel. I want to support all the people in this show, the Americans who want to find love, because I understand that there is this driving, needing force to find love. But Rachel, based on her story, doesn't seem to have a very good track record when it comes to men, specifically and especially men who have fathered her children. So with Rachel's scenario is she was married to a man for a couple of years, and I guess it was a bad marriage, and she divorced him, and she has a 7-year-old daughter by him, and she says that she is a solo mom, not a single mom. I guess she considers herself not single because she's with John. So it didn't work out with her ex-husband, and then she was dating. So she was dating around, doing her thug thizzle, and she was also on this karaoke app, which I'm like, what is the name of that karaoke app? Because karaoke is my life, and I would love to be on a karaoke app where you get to sing and people get to do duets with you. That's my dream. She goes on a karaoke app and she puts up a song. A guy comes back with a duet with her, and it turns out that it is John, and she is just like so enamored because he's so hot. I mean, and from the pictures, girl, he is really hot. He looks short, but he looks really hot. So she was still doing her thug thizzle in the US, dating or whatever, because, like, you know, how was she supposed to ever think that anything would ever happen with John, right? And so while she's dating in the US, she gets pregnant. And I'm just like, girl. So she got pregnant. It didn't end up working out with the baby daddy, which makes me like so sad for her because this has happened to her again. And she tells John that, you know, actually I'm pregnant, and, you know, I know we've been talking, but I never thought anything was serious to come of this. And he decided that he was going to be there to support her. And she was just like skeptical at first and didn't understand why he wanted to do this, but he was there for the ride. And so she took all the love and acceptance that she could get from him, and he gave it to her. And I'm like, okay, that makes me like him a little bit more. He then applied for his visa to come to the US, and it got denied. The reason it got denied was because he'd gotten into a few bar fights when he was in university, and they're on his record, and the US would not let him in. Makes lots of sense. The issue is that nobody really knows that that's the case except for her parents, and her mother has actually stopped talking to her because of this, because she thinks that she's foolish for wanting to date a guy as a new mom who is, I guess, has a record. And I don't necessarily think that anything is bad with that. A lot of people get into fights in college. And the only reason why it's a big deal is because he couldn't get his visa. Now, if he served time for that, we need to go into that and see what that looks like and see what his current situation is now. There's a lot of circumstances to me that doesn't necessarily mean that John is a bad guy. Her father thinks that he could have an alcohol problem, or he might be an angry drunk and might hit her. And so to me, those are valid concerns of a parent, and I understand them thinking that, but her mother not talking to her is really severe. So I would like to know, like, what happened with that relationship. Her parents are divorced and have been divorced since she was young. So it's not like, you know, her parents are together and her mom's not speaking to her, but her dad is. You know, it's their separate lives. She goes out for a girls' night with her baby to a restaurant and meets some friends, and they're sitting there and they're just talking about John. One of her friends is very skeptical, is like really concerned that he has this record. And I'm just like, why did you tell your friends that he has a record? Like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to tell them everything about him. Jesus. The fact that her dad knows, okay, but her friends, they don't necessarily need to know yet, right? So Rachel is packing up her 8-month-old baby, and they are going to the UK to meet John for the very first time. We got a little promo shot of his friend saying that John doesn't have a good record with women, and him saying that he's dated hundreds of women, but I don't know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Like, some guys do date a lot of women. Like, we don't know what that means. So she's excited because she feels like he's really hot and he's above her league. Rachel is hoping for a proposal when she goes to England. So let's see if she gets that girl. So the next couple is an oldie but goodie. We have Darcy and Jesse. So we have Darcy, who's 45 years old, and we have Jesse, who's 25 years old. And girl, Jesse, I mean, So Darcy fills us in on what's been going on with her and Jesse. Apparently after the last season, they were together and it was okay, but they broke up and she freaked out online and started saying all this stuff about him, like, ladies, you can have him, he's free now, blah, blah, blah. Jesse felt disrespected because he felt that her saying all that stuff made it seem like he cheated on her when he hadn't. And so she was just emotional. We all know Darcy, like, she would go on social media and be crazy. So they broke up and they hadn't talked to each other or seen each other for 6 months. And I guess they've been talking recently and they decided to do the show again because duh, why wouldn't they? And so they get on the show. Darcy has lost weight. She's changed her hair. She's looking good. You guys know I love Darcy. Even though she's a Looney Tune, I still respect a boss bee and their hustle. You know what I'm saying? Darcy's really excited. She goes out with her cousin to look at some clothing and to talk about Jesse coming to the US and all of the things that he's decided that she needs to do. We know one of the things is that he doesn't want her to drink. So she's talking to her cousin and her cousin is just like, listen, you don't need to give him everything. There's certain things that you can be okay with, and there's certain things that you just need to live your own life. Like, he can't be controlling you like that. Darcy is just so in love with the fantasy of having this man on her arm that she's not thinking straight. I don't know what it is about him that makes her behave the way she does or even give him the time of day. So the plan is she's gonna go to New York City and she's gonna meet Jesse and they're gonna have a couple of days there together, and then her daughters are gonna fly in and they're gonna meet Jesse on his last leg in New York City. During the previews, Jesse says that it is an illusion for Darcy to believe that he is going to be a stepfather. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that he has told her this and she is just like not heard it, just decided she wasn't gonna listen to it because in her heart of hearts, she feels like she would make a perfect wife for Jesse. She can give him everything that he wants, that he would be a great stepdad to her children. Which is crazy because we know they've had that conversation. This isn't a Luis situation, right? Where like the conversation was had and it was all superfluous. Like, no. This conversation was had and Jesse was like, no. So anyways, Jessie gets there and she's there in her cute boots and she's excited because she's hoping that Jesse's gonna really like her new appearance. I mean, when she sees him, she is so excited and he runs up to her and it is the most patronizing greeting I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I am so over Jessie. It was so fake and phony and like, oh, looking down on her, and like, I'm just like, Jessie, I didn't even believe that greeting. And then they get into the car and he acts as though he's never been to New York City before. As I recall, he has been to the States before. Maybe it's only been to LA. Maybe he's never been to New York City, right? Maybe he hasn't. Maybe I'm wrong. She's just like wanting him to rub up and hug up on her in the van. And he's not. He's like looking outside of the window. He's like, oh, look at that. What's that? Oh, look at this. And she was like, oh, I don't know. She's just wanting to hug him and have him be excited that she's there, and all he wants to do is sightsee. She's just like, well, I guess he wanted a tour guide and I didn't know that he wanted that. So he started taking pictures of things and then just being like, never mind, I'll look them up since you don't know. And she's like, well, what? And he's just like, since you don't know, like, I'm here, and like, since you don't know what anything is, I'm just gonna take a picture and look it up later, I guess. And I'm just like, dude, he's such a dick. Like, she's from Connecticut. Like, Connecticut isn't far from New York City, and a lot of people live in Connecticut and take the train into New York City to go to work. Like, that's a thing that happens, but she may not know every single thing, and neither would I, and I lived there. Like, what stadium is that? Girl, I don't know. I don't go see sports. I don't know what stadium that is. Like, but he's just so rude, dude. He's just so rude, and it's just so frustrating that he's, like, such an asshole. And I don't think Darcy deserves it. That's the thing. I don't think she deserves it at all. And so she's like, well, what do you think of me? Like, what do you think of my makeup? And he's like, well, you know, I prefer you without makeup, and makeup is not for everyone, you know, natural beauty. And she's like, well, the makeup is accentuating my natural beauty. It's coming off to a very rocky, stupid start, and I just feel bad for her. He said in a confessional that he told her when they broke up that she needed to work on herself and come back to him structured and well-rounded. Okay, so the next couple we have are Paul and Carini. Paul is packing up his stuff to go see Carini again, and this time he's taking even more stuff. Even though he knows how hard it is to travel with all that luggage, he's still taking more stuff because she wanted a lot of stuff. Like a lot of stuffed animals and like unicorn onesie and unicorn slippers and like all kinds of just juvenile baby stuff, which I can't hate on her because there are a lot of grown-ass women who still like rainbow stuff right now. But for him to bring it all to her from Kentucky is like crazy. Also, he's from Louisville, Kentucky, and so is David. So I wonder if like they have met up. Are they friends? What's going on? Paul is a self-proclaimed mama's boy, and mama is not with this. She does not know that he's going to Brazil to get married to Carini because, oh yeah, they're getting married in Brazil when he gets there. And she's against this whole thing. So the mom just feels like Carini has got him doing all kinds of crazy stuff, also bringing all that luggage, all that nonsense, and then she went through his bags and found sex toys and was upset about the sex toys. Now that is a effing breach. That mom is nosy, and if her son wants to have sex toys at 34 years old, I think that he's allowed to have it. So I'm a little concerned about this relationship now. It's one thing to be close, and it's another thing to have an opinion about your son having sex toys at 34. You shouldn't have an opinion about that. You should be embarrassed to even talk to him about that stuff. He's already burned his own property. He's already gone to prison for it. He's already had a restraining order put against him, which he broke that restraining order and went back into jail again. Like, Paul has already lived a full grown-ass life. Like, the last thing you need to be worried about is his sex toys, okay? Carini's family has required him to bring all of his documentation so that they can see if he's an angry or violent man. He's gonna bring all that. He's a little nervous. His mother feels like it's too much information because it's the past and his business. And I'm like, you would feel the same way if that were your daughter and her boyfriend from another country would be coming over and he had an extensive criminal record and served time. So Paul has done 18 months in prison. Could you imagine Paul in prison? Like, what was that like? What was that like for him? So Paul is like, I'm gonna go see my beautiful girlfriend Carini, who's 21 years old, but she's a woman. She knows the ways of a woman. I'm just like, oh my God. Emotionally, Paul is 34 years old, but emotionally he needs to be with a foreign 21-year-old. So that's really it about Paul. Paul's on his way. We already know about Paul. We're just waiting for him to say something or do something dumb. He's vacuum sealing all this stuff to take to Carini, and he's on his way to Brazil to get married to her in Brazil. So we're gonna see what happens there. So the last couple we have is a new couple, and this is Ricky. Ricky is from Columbus, Ohio. He has had a string of bad luck, the same way that Rachel has. He's been married, got divorced, has a 12-year-old daughter named Amber, then got married again and has a 1-year-old or like an 18-month-old baby, and is in the process of getting divorced from his wife. Now, let me tell you about Ricky. Ricky is living in a fantasy world. He really wants something that he refers to as true love, because he feels like that's what his parents had. He says that his father was an infantryman. He went to Panama. He got there. He met his future wife, Ricky's mother, and after 3 days of knowing her, proposed, and they got married and lived a life in the US and happily ever after. And, you know, they were together until his father passed away. Now, that's very idealistic because we don't know what their marriage was like. I mean, I hope it was good. But, like, something like that is very, very rare. You don't know how his mother was when they first met. Maybe she was very subservient. Maybe it was easy for her to just get married to this man, get out of Panama, come to the US. There are so many women who deal in marriages and in relationships because of necessity. They're just malleable, they're pliable, they come here or they're from here and they marry men who they're okay with. You never know. You could be with somebody for 40 years and you married them because they were your only prospect and it was okay. Like, he's just delusional. And now women these days don't do that as often as they did back in the day because women have rights and they have power. They can get jobs. They can be self-sufficient. So they don't have to live under men anymore. They don't have to become pliable or just deal with their husbands anymore. They can get divorced and live their lives if they're unhappy. So, like, for you to compare something like that to a modern woman or compare like a love story like that to a modern day situation is harder because you never really know what the circumstances were. Now, I'm not saying that his parents didn't have a loving relationship. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that it wasn't great. I'm not saying that it wasn't true love. I'm not saying that it's not all those things. I'm just saying that that is rare. If it was true love, it's rare. It's not something that just happens, you know? And so he's walking in wanting that, and that's what always breaks my heart when people do that, because they will do anything for love in that scenario. He tells us that his daughter Amber is the most important thing in his life, and that if she didn't want him to go to Colombia to meet his girlfriend, then he wouldn't go. And I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't believe him, like Darcy and all the people who are blindly into these relationships and just really want love to win out, to me, those people can't be talked to because they have a very specific idea of what love is and what a relationship is. And part of that is suffering, and I don't believe that. So of course his daughter's not going to say, Dad, don't go. Like, she knows how important it is for her dad, and I think she loves her dad, and he's her primary caretaker. So like, she's gonna say, go, you know, live your life, have fun. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna ask her to marry. And she's like, well, I think that you should wait a little bit. And everyone's saying, I think you should wait a little bit. But he's like, no, she's sweet. You know, she has a job. She's a nurse. He thinks that she's this hot girl who is out of his league, but is really sweet and nice to him, and has her own money because she's a nurse and all this stuff. So he's gonna go full speed ahead. He felt like his father went to another country to find a woman, and so obviously it might work out for him if he goes to another country and find a woman. So he was on Columbia Cupid and he met her. So, and it was a real ego boost for him too, because all of these women were like, hello, hi, you know, all this stuff to him, and he was just like soaking it all in. He'd never gotten so much attention. So yeah, he has told Melissa that he's coming to Columbia, and she has gotten a little standoffish. They have never face chatted, so he's never heard her voice. He's never seen her like speak to him. So that leads us to believe that she might be catfishing, especially now that she knows that he's coming to Columbia. She's backed off of it. Maybe it's like becoming too real because she low-key has been scamming him. And so, but weirder things have happened and people have come through when we thought that they were catfishing. So we'll see. We shall absolutely see. It worked out for 401 Clary, so it might work out for Ricky. Alright, you guys, so that is the end of this episode. I'm super excited for this season. Let me know what you thought of this first episode down below. Who are we rooting for? Who do we think are foolish? You know, what's gonna happen? I'm so excited. Alright, if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to consider becoming a Patreon patron, please click the link down below and go to Patreon, be a patron. I don't have anything to give you at this time on Patreon, and if I do have merch or do stuff, then you will be the first to get. I also want to thank you for considering becoming a Patreon patron. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That also helps me too. And that's it. Remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye.